So I just want to welcome Daniel Alfredsson, who's going to talk to us about the mental wellness aspect of coaching. We're really privileged to have Daniel, his many years as an NHL All-Star and now in the coaching realm. Daniel, tell us just a little bit about what you're keeping busy with these days.
So I used to be a player, just playing in 2014. Worked in management a little bit from 16 to 18, and then got into development and coaching a few years ago. I wasn't looking to get into coaching, but kind of happened. They fired some of the coaches and asked me to jump on, and I'm really enjoying it and being part of the team again. And yeah, so I'm working with the Ottawa Senators right now. This will be my second full year, and we're just about to start the season.
So going from player to coach, that's kind of an interesting transition for you, I'm sure.
It really is. I thought initially that I could have more of effect quicker as a coach, having my playing experience, but it's been a learning curve, but a good one. I've been lucky to have really good coaches around me. Jacques Martin to start off, and then Travis Green starting last year. So it's been a lot of fun. And I think too, be able to share my experience from when I played to the younger guys and help them along the way, but at the same time learning a lot myself about coaching and everything that goes into it. And it's even more work being a coach than a player, although it's different.
Yeah, we sometimes forget the amount of time and effort that goes into coaching.
Yeah.
So we wanted to talk a little bit about
Mm.
the wellness side of things. And obviously as a former player, understanding the challenges, the demands, the stressors, the performance side of things, and now you're on the coaching side of things. And so just tell us a little bit when it comes to your approach to player wellness. What are some of the things that you really
Mm.
think about or that you find are really important when we talk about
Mm.
supporting players, not just from a physical perspective, but also from a mental wellness and performance perspective?
Yeah, I think it's really important to establish openness right away. I think that's extremely important. Show your face around the rink, talk to players, and regardless of results, the day before or weeks before, it doesn't matter. We're human beings, we're people, we're all trying to work towards the same goal. But I think it's extremely important to touch base. Just because they see me and I'm the coach doesn't mean I want to talk hockey. We can talk about anything and just treat them as like, yes, hockey is hockey. When we have meetings, when we work on the ice, we're professionals, we do our work, but outside that, we're people and we're friends. I think showing them that you really care about them, not just as a player, but as a person as well, builds that trust that if a player would go through challenging times, which we all do, they would feel comfortable to talk and share their story, because we're all going to deal with it at some point in time in our career or in our lives, and knowing that we're never alone. It affects everybody. And I think if they can feel that care and trust, that they feel comfortable talking about it with their coaches as well.
Yeah, so just like you said, establishing a foundation of trust and connection and everything,
Hmm.
and just how important that is, right? Is just in the day to day of just a player really feeling comfortable in their environment is a job, but it's also there's much more to that. And it sounds like that's a real important point of emphasis for you as well. And can you tell us just about your thoughts, as we're kind of in a new era of player development where there is more talk about wellness? What are some important things that you see are important for young players to think about in the area of wellness? What would be some advice that you would give them in terms of, preparing themselves for their own wellness?
Yeah, like you said, I mean, it's a different era now from when I played. Even maybe in the end of my career, it started coming more common with social media, but never like what it is today. And I think it's important to keep perspective on everything. Just because you're a celebrity, maybe, or a professional in something, and people know who you are, I think it's extremely important to understand that's not the way you want to be defined only. This is your job, and you should treat it as such. I think another big thing is believing in working towards becoming a better player and a better person throughout. Focuses on the little things and not being distracted with just the moment of success or failure. That's what you did. So being able to self-evaluate, where am I? What's my goals? Because I think success or failure is an accumulation of doing the little things. What makes you a good player? Is it your skating, your passing, your shooting, your physicality? whatever it might be, you have to set smaller goals and evaluate from those rather than just the wins and the losses, if you may. And everybody deals with, like we talked about before, where everybody's going to deal with struggles. You don't think you're good, you're not whatever, and that's normal. And accepting the negative thought, not just try to convince yourself to be positive just because you have to be positive. I think you got to deal with those feelings and then learn how to deal with them. Talking to a professional, if it's breathing exercises, because it is inevitable, I think. So finding ways to cope with the and having mechanisms to cope with those feelings and put your energy and make those feelings last as short as possible. But I think it is crucially important to acknowledge them.
Yeah, just that awareness, right? As you said, I think there's so much focused on winning and scores and stats and social media posts about highlights and all those kind of things. But, you're talking about really embracing a process, really embracing not just the successes, not those highlights, just really being intentional about being okay with things that don't go well for you, and just to be aware of that. That's kind of probably as a young player, and maybe you can reflect on this, that may be a hard thing for players to really dive into because they talking or thinking through some of the things that are not going well, and yet you're saying it's a really important part of the process.
Yeah, it's extremely hard because you want so much, and they talk about your team loses 3, 4 games, or the media or the radio talks about this. The social media is saying this. He hasn't performed well in 3 games. Uh, and I think the coaching staff can help in that too by laying out the expectations and kind of the rules, the team rules. What is important? Is it goals? Is it points? Is it wins? Where I think you could break it down better in a way of saying, what's your work ethic like? What's your skill set? If you are a good passer, how's your passing? So you kind of take the players away, and when you evaluate them, you can kind of go back and help them again. Okay, why is your shooting not better? Can we work on that in practice? And then there's more tangibles to touch on where they feel, okay, I'm feeling good in my shooting now. And then you might start getting more confidence. So I think coaches can help in breaking it down and setting the expectations and the right expectations.
Yeah, and it sounds like you said it's an important for you as a coach to really set that foundation to say I'm not just going to talk about the wins. We really want to talk about the process of getting there. We want to actually talk about the uncomfortable things of when things are not going well. That's actually a really important part of
Mm-hmm.
wellness because you're not just ignoring the things that we're kind of afraid to talk about. It's actually having the courage to talk about some of those things.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, it's great stuff. And like you say, it is kind of
Mm.
a new era where players, I think, are really, having to think more about the emotional, about the wellness side of things for that. Just tell us a little bit more about for you, what are some of the successes you've seen when you look at some of the players that really seem to be embracing a wellness approach? What do you notice there? What are some of the things that seem to be helping them?
Yeah, I think from our standpoint as coaches, it's not just any individual. That's you might have star players, whatever. It's not just one or two. It's everybody's collective effort. Because we know everybody's not going to have their top game all the time, but if everybody chips in, makes life easier for everybody. Going back to the having the right expectations, we call them non-negotiables. The hard work, following the systems. If everybody does that, then I think the players themselves can start uh, seeing other players if they're struggling with this, and they can bring them back on board. And if it doesn't, they still struggle. They might ask them, "How are you doing?" So we get everybody. It's not just the coaches that are important in this. I think teammates play a crucial role as well. Taking the pressure off. I mean, usually everybody knows on the team who the best players are, and we all know when they're not playing their best. And like any family, when somebody's struggling, somebody else has to pick up and help them out. And creating that culture, I think, is very important.
Yeah, culture, right? It's there's so much to that. Well, again, we just really appreciate just your willingness as a coach to really talk about these things, to really talk about player wellness, to hear of your commitment to it. That it is a challenging process, like you said, as a coach, you're working really hard and you're doing that. And we just again, when we think of really educating the next generation of players,
Yeah.
just knowing that there's coaches that are really dialed into this stuff is really great, and it's really good to know. So again, we really appreciate your time and effort here, and we wish you all
Mm.
the success in your young but future coaching career.
I really appreciate it. Thank you very much for having me.